What are the top 10 or so most common medical malpractice claims? Well, medical malpractice occurs when a doctor or nurse is negligent and that negligence causes you harm or needlessly injures you. One of the most common types is a failure to diagnose. The beginning inquiry of any doctor or medical provider is, did they correctly diagnose you? Sometimes they don't correctly diagnose you. They think you have something else and they ignore other continuing symptoms. They have tests and run tests that they don't look at the results, and they fail to diagnose your cancer in time. They fail to diagnose that you have a sepsis infection. They fail to diagnose that you have a heart attack or have a myocardial infarction or some type of a heart issue. They fail to diagnose increasing pressure in your eye and an eye injury. They fail to diagnose. There's a whole host of things where that fail to diagnose comes into a play. And what doctors do is they have a differential diagnosis. They put your symptoms, your history, other medical records and tests, put things in that differential diagnosis, and they eliminate them to get to an accurate diagnosis. You have to have an accurate diagnosis as a starting point for any type of medical treatment. So failure to diagnose, and then that causes you damage. A failure to diagnose cancer delays the treatment for the cancer. It may run you from a 80% chance of survival rate only to a 20% survival rate, and that's your harm. Another type of medical malpractice claim is when doctors don't look where they cut. Whenever doctors are doing surgery, they don't want to blindly cut. And if they cut where they're not looking or where they cannot totally visualize what's coming within their blade or their cutting device, whether it's laparoscopically or an open procedure or what, that's a violation of the standard of care. You got to look before you're cut. And if they don't do that, doctors cut arteries, they cut blood vessels, they cut nerves. And the arteries and the veins can lead to immediately death or a really, really bad, quick sequela or consequence or damage from that. The failure to look with nerves cause more longer lasting damages where clients lose nerve ability to use limbs, they have numbness, they have referred pain, a whole host of things. They also can cut tendons and arteries and other things. Sometimes also there can be retained objects after surgery. We've had a lot of these cases. I'm Gary Berger from Berger Law, by the way, where a lap sponge or a device or something is left in a person. They find out 2 months later, years later, and they figured out the reason why they're having all these problems is this, that, or the other thing. A lot of times doctors can be negligent in medical malpractice cases can arise for failure to do the right tests. So a doctor doesn't order a test that shows that a certain someone has a blood infection. They don't do a test to show the white blood cell count is up. They don't do a test to see if your troponin enzyme is high, which is indicative of a heart attack or myocardial infarction or some type of heart issue. It's that troponin is an enzyme that is put out, and they have to do multiple troponin tests. So there are tests that doctors have to do to assess for things. Another type of malpractice is not only the failure to diagnose, not only the failure to conduct the right test, but the failure to do the right treatment. So even when a doctor has the diagnosis, they've done the test and they know they don't do the right treatment. Another type of medical malpractice claim is when they treat you, but they treat you with a medical device that is dangerous or ineffective. So there's a lot of medical device manufacturers. Sometimes some have good products, some don't have good products. And if doctors know or see articles or have the literature knows that there are indicia or problems with those devices and they put them in you anyway, they can be partially responsible for that harm as well as having a product liability case. And then the other thing is that doctors may prescribe and in the treatment do that incorrectly. For instance, they may put the wrong dose of a medication. They may give you too high a dose of morphine or other pain reliever that causes you to die or to have serious consequences. They may multiple prescribe you. They may prescribe a steroid where you needed an antibiotic. And for instance, a steroid may have blooming infection and have problems where what they really wanted was an antibiotic to decrease that. Or they may prescribe drugs and not adjust them. But one of the other ways doctors do is they may focus on a diagnosis. They think you have something, and they don't see all this other evidence that their initial diagnosis, what they initially had for you, is wrong, and they should be looking at other things. And so they focus on something rather than looking at an infection. They focus on one issue versus looking at another, and then by the time they put their head up and take their blinders off and see what's going on with you, it's too late or you've suffered damages therefrom. So sometimes doctors fail to see infection, start treating infection. Sometimes they wait too long to treat infection. So they won't give an antibiotic prophylactic or something to start addressing it. So I know I went on for a long time in this video. There's a lot of types of medical malpractice. If you have any questions, call us at 866-599-2222. Thank you.